about today, D-Rev?
Evolving. Evolution.
Evolution. We're talking about the evolution of the revolution, or the evolution of man, or the evolution of
people. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you know, and evolution, I can only speak on it because, again, I only use my life as a tool to speak on things, you know. So basically, evolution of oneself to evolve, and, you know, because evolution is constant, you know, it never stops.
Well, it's supposed to be. So, but have you ever known it to stop, or?
No. Not, you know, I've never known evolution to stop for myself, you know. Every day I could do something better than I did, you know, previous, you know. The way I think today is not going to be the same way I think a couple of years from now. You know, the decisions I make now, I will make different decisions later. It's happened so many times, you know.
So we're always striving to evolve in a positive way?
And that depends on the person.
Or what we consider positive, or what we consider progressive.
Right. Well, some people only want to evolve for their personal selfish reasons. So, you know, if you want to evolve to be the best of anything that you want to be, you may evolve in that, or you may not. But the question is when you do evolve in whatever you're doing, is that really what you're supposed to be doing? And I think that's the question, you know. So I think evolution is really to, you know, figure out who you are. That's really what it comes down to, figuring out who you are. There's a lot of people who just don't know who they are.
Give me an example. You may not have to use no names, places, or finger pointing, but give me an example of what your definition of evolving.
My definition of evolving is, it's not a simple word or definition, more of a process. So if you a person who never ever look at yourself, ever, I mean physically and mentally, if you never look in that mirror and you never look at yourself, it's really impossible to evolve. If you never look at yourself and you tell yourself the truth about who you are and what your desires are, no matter how much it may hurt you. And I've had to do that, and I do it all the time. And that's basically asking yourself, why am I insecure about this? Why do I get angry about that? Why don't I like that person? Why don't that person like me? Did I say the right thing? Did I do the right thing? Did I keep my word? Just different things. Am I a person that's phony? I tell people what they want to. Ask yourself all of those questions. Am I a woman that hates to be alone? You know, why can't I keep a man? Or am I a man that got too much ego? And I'm gonna tell you, you know, one of the worst things, man, is a insecure man with a lot of ego. That's like one of the worst creations out there, you know.
So you're saying you can have no self-esteem, but you got an ego.
Exactly. Or you could be very insecure, and you would make your decisions, all of your decisions you've made in your life is based off emotions. And you don't want to be a person that make all of your decisions off emotions. You have to learn when to respond and when to react to things. And I think people don't know the difference. You know, people that are very insecure, they react to everything. Everything doesn't cause for a reaction. You have to know when to respond, and you have to know when to react. And if you don't know the difference, then you can find yourself in many situations that you don't want to be in, or you keep asking yourself, why am I constantly in this situation? You know? But you control all the chaos in your life. I mean, you have total control of the chaos in your life. It really comes down to the decisions and whether you want to keep making those same decisions or whether you want to grow from them.
So if you're in the midst of just life itself, and you're constantly on the move, constantly working, you got 8 to 5, 40 hours a week, and then you got kids and everything, when are you going to sit down and have a self-examination of yourself to determine that you are evolving? Wouldn't the very act of living be a certain level of evolving?
You know, it's a good question. You know, we don't get a whole lot of time to think, but there is time to think. You have to utilize what you have to think, you know. And the one thing that I learned some years ago, especially when I was back in the day really performing a lot every Sunday at the bar car, was that, you know, I always would have to go to work the next day, and I would be out late on a Sunday night. And at that time, I learned just not to let my job at the time to consume me. You should not let your job consume you. You know, when you get off work, you know, if you allowed, if you can, do something different. You know, try your best not to be a person to go home, go to sleep, get up, do it the next day. Go home, go to sleep, get up, go to work the next day. Take time in the middle of the week, one day of the week, to do something else. Take your kids somewhere in the middle of the week, just to break up that particular energy. Or take time to maybe even go to a library. Take, you know, something, you know, to really break that up so you can have time to think and you can do things differently. When you do things differently, you start to think differently. You know, a lot of time when people work 40 hours a week, that's all they focus on. But think about how many hours is it really in a week? It's much more than 40. So what are you doing with the rest of the hours during that week, you know? So it's up to that person to find time to make for themselves, take time for themselves, you know? And not to mention, you know, you have the weekends.
When did you realize that there was a moment in your life that you were, okay, let's say the word stagnant, or that you were not moving forward at the pace that you wanted to be? And what did you do to make a change in that?
I started rebelling against myself. You know, I think when I realized that I wasn't doing the things that I wanted to, I was never happy. I was never happy. It was always this overwhelming feeling that I needed to be doing something more.
Who were you doing it for?
Who was I doing what for?
Whenever you was doing the thing that you were doing that you weren't happy with, were you doing because that was direction that you was told that you should be doing certain things, or?
Well, that's the thing. I was never given a direction. I was never given a direction, you know. So I only had my energy to go off of what I was feeling and, you know, what I wanted to do. And at the time, I didn't even know what I wanted to do. But what I did was, I had to acknowledge what I liked doing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when I first started writing, man, I used to hide it. You know, I used to go in my room. This is back in Chicago. I'll go in my room, close the door, and I started writing like screenplays and writing stories and things like that. And I would hide them, man. You know what I'm saying? And I remember one of my boys one day, I had like some stuff I wrote in the backseat of my car. My boy one day found it. Like, man, what is this? You know what I'm saying? And I was embarrassed, man, you know what I'm saying? But
why were you embarrassed?
Because, one, I had used his name as a character, you know what I'm saying? So he seen his name in it. And I was just really writing about what was going on. But he didn't, you know, I mean, it was cool. I ended up saying, oh, man, I was just writing something. I just played it off or whatever. And I just didn't, I don't know. I just felt like I didn't want that part of me to be known. So by the time, and this was years ago, and by the time I grew up a little bit, you know, got into my young adult years, I began to look back at those times that I was writing this, writing that, and I started to figure out that was definitely something that I wanted to be doing, was writing. And I just started to put it together, you know, and then of course I discovered poetry, and
now were you pretty much not wanting them to see your work because you were showing a side of yourself that that they were not able to show because they hadn't gone to school, they hadn't paid attention to work, or you were showing levels of intelligence, of knowledge that sometimes they sort of look down. Sometimes we look down on each other if we show certain levels of.
Well, that's the strange thing about this, man, and this is what I mean about evolution. When I look back on that now, situations back then, you know, my boys and selling drugs and different things like that, you know, what I looked at is, what it really came down was, it wasn't that I was showing a different personality compared to what they wanted to see or whatever. It really came down to, that's who I was. That's really who I was. And I was fake with them. You know, that's who I was. Even though I was hiding that, you know, and when I was embarrassed when my boys seen that, I was really hiding who I was instead of pretending to be a gangbanger, drug dealer, you know what I'm saying? I did those things because I had to. That was my neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? So the evolving door just came when I moved to Tennessee, and I couldn't do nothing but think. You know, I really truly learned what boredom was when I moved here. Like, I used to think I was bored in Chicago. No, I had nothing but time to think. You know what I'm saying? So at that point, that's when I started to sort of connect the dots. You know, and don't get me wrong. I mean, it's a process. You know, I still dealt when I got here, dealt in some illegal activities when I moved here, but at the same time, I mean, that's all I knew to do. That's what I was good at.
But all that's behind you now, right?
That's right.
Okay. So when you found out that you were putting on the front because you weren't being who you really are, how did that affect your being able to be with individuals who were still doing the exact same thing?
Man, I literally didn't want to be around it no more. You know what I'm saying? But it took a while for me to figure that out. You know, it took a while to really figure that out. I really didn't want to be around that stuff no more. You know what I'm saying? You know, and
were you labeled a sellout, or how did you?
Nah, I mean, not to my face. I mean, I never had the discussion with anybody to be labeled that. I just stopped coming around, stopped going around. You know what I'm saying? I stopped being around it. You know, and you know, I just started.
Was that your fan base? At the time, you didn't have that. There was no fan base.
Right.
There was only a selling base where you were doing your business in the streets.
Right.
So, but you were still having to do that. So but your mindset was no longer in that because you was thinking about other things and evolving because you knew that this is where you really wanted to be.
Right. But it was a process. Again, you know, it was a time where it's almost like fading from one energy to another. I just didn't stop one energy and move to another, because when I was doing poetry, I was still doing illegal stuff. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, and one just, I faded one out and then let the other one in, and that's really how it happened. Now, you gotta understand, when I moved to Tennessee, I'm pretty much doing things by myself, because my boys ain't here, you know what I'm saying? The dudes that I was kicking it with back in Chicago, they not here, but, so I didn't really have like a clique or nothing, you know, I was just kind of doing my thing, and,
so let me ask you this.
Put a couple of people to work, and that was it.
Let me put this question to you. When you were writing your poetry, when you got down here in Nashville, Tennessee, were you, and you were still engaged in some of this activity, were you using your poetry as your way to release the guilt you were feeling for still doing the things you were doing?
Yeah. You know, I don't want to come off, I don't want to be a hypocrite, but I want to be very real. I didn't really feel guilty for what I was doing because I had to do it. And so I understand when you run into some youngsters today who are doing it particularly to survive, because that's all I was doing it for. And if I was able to get a, you know, what's important for everybody to understand, you know, as much as I was doing, I was looking for a job just as hard as I was doing what I was doing. And that's what's important, you know, for people to understand me, is that, you know, I couldn't get a job. You know, I could not get a job, particularly in Chicago. I couldn't find a job. No matter what I did, I could not find a job. So I did what I had to do. But I never felt guilty. You know, when I write, I'm basically making people aware of what's going on, you know, out there. You know what I'm saying? So, and if I can, you know, if I can change, you can change. You know, you gotta have a desire. You have to want to change, though. And I think that's where the issue of evolution come in, that because there are so many people who don't want to change. They're comfortable, and then change brings a lot of fear for people. You know what I'm saying? And so people choose to stay where they are.
10 to 15 years ago, DrevII was a completely different person from who he is now, if we're going by the evolution chart.
Right.
If you're going by the evolution chart, the things that you were doing then, you no longer are doing.
Right.
So would the person that we know now be the person that we could say would be a good mentor for kids, a good father figure, a good husband, or
the person then?
The person compared to the person now?
No, I don't think the person then compared to the person now would have been a good person for anyone's daughters. You know what I'm saying? And I mean,
then why are there so many women with those kind of men?
But that's the irony in it, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I was about to say. That's the irony in it, because this is where we fail as black people. The irony in it is this: I wouldn't even have kids if I knew better. You know, it's just so many things I didn't get growing up, and so many things I didn't understand, that the ironies that was you asking that question, it's hard to answer that, because I'm like, man, if I was the man then that I am now, or if I knew the things then that I knew now, I wouldn't have had kids by some random chick. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it would have never happened. It would have never happened. So it's a difficult question to answer, because I'm like, looking at me now and putting me in the past 10 to 20 years, I would not have kids. So it's a difficult question to answer.
But especially by a random chick, that definitely would not have happened.
No. Hell no. As a matter of fact. You know what I'm saying? You know, that's a whole nother conversation. Like, you know, these kids and everybody have to understand, you know, the importance of who you have quick kids with, who you lay down with, and all of that good stuff. I mean, you know, this is something, in particular, you know, it's just something you want to be on point about, you know, as much as you can.
And as you move forward in your evolution of DRev, what other things do you see that you would like to change about yourself, and what you would like to see society as a whole, or black men as a whole, African Americans as a whole, that they should do? Not just African Americans, but everyone.
I think that everyone, to evolve. I think if people focus more on each other instead of world events, the world would be a better place.
Okay.
I mean, and I think that what happens with us is that we're so focused on self. We define ourselves too much through other people. Some people look in the mirror and they see themselves, but most people look in the mirror and see everyone else. They don't see themselves. They see everyone else and what people think about them. And so everybody's living for everyone else but themselves. You have to know who you are. I think that's the most important thing. African American, whole world, you have to know who you are. You have to know who you are. Not what the world wants you to know. Not what everybody wants you to know, or depending on making a decision based on what you're gonna look like or whatever. You have to know who you are and why you're doing the things that you're doing. And the one thing that I've never shied away from is controversy, because I'm going to do what I know is right for me and my family. And there's so many people that make decisions, right. Based on a personal perception, intuition, or what somebody else is telling them. You can't make decisions on perceptions, and you can't always you should never make emotional decisions. Everything, you have to be fair. Can't use your emotions to cheat somebody out of something that rightfully belonged to them. Or, and that's the thing that, to me, really puts a strain on a lot of relationships with human beings in general, but in particular, black people, is that no one is fair. It's hardly ever anybody that I run into is fair.
When you say fair, you mean, are they being upfront, honest?
Upfront, honest, and if you have a relationship with somebody, and that relationship is strained, you can't disregard a person because they made you feel a certain way. If they was there for you, you can say, hey, I don't like this person, but you know what? She was there for me when I needed her. That don't mean you got to be cool with them. But you just can't you have to be fair in your thoughts and what you speak. You have to be fair to every aspect of your life, even if you don't want to.
So you speaking of karma? You speaking
I guess that's a way to put it. You have to be fair. If you're cutting people out of the pie that helped you bake it, that's not being fair. You know what, John? I was dating this woman for a while. And when I asked her to come over to her house, she said, D-Rev, I don't feel comfortable with you coming to my house because of your past. And I said, please excuse my diction. I've lived several lives and I'm still living. Sometimes I don't give a damn what people say and think. I'm a little on edge. I've been hit with the kitchen sink. I watched my mom die from drug abuse. The streets had me obtuse. So please pardon my diction. I personified my mission. My mission to speak for the have-nots. That won't stop. I've seen too many brothers drop. I was raised with the sirens and hard knocks from the cops. So God, please let my voice be an instrument. It's obvious what I seen has been detriment, but no accident. Some say let it go. Hell no. Brothers still down on my block. My contributions to crack rock sales were toxic, hiding ounces of crack in cereal boxes. But Big Brother watches. My hands are dirty, so I'm washing. I'm washing all the hurt and pain, making sure my mom's death is not in vain. So next time you see me, it's deeper than what you see. This is deeper than what you believe. So I ask that you pardon my diction. And I forgot to mention, my father's decisions caused me to grow without him. But I refuse to be the victim. My father died from alcoholism. So you tell me who's the real victim. Some of us was born into poverty. Some of us can't change the mentality. Some of us are stuck in the fallacy. God, let me breathe. Let me breathe. Let me breathe life into those who think they are living, who only takes what's given, whose souls are missing. But I ask that you pardon my diction. And I forgot to mention, Those who understand the state of mind of my kind. The have-nots. Those who only believe in what they can see or touch. Those who believe one's misery is used as a crutch. So pardon my diction. Or should I say, pardon my convictions. My creative mind supersedes time and place me in the zone of my own existence. I moved to the south against my own resistance, but the hood dreams were persistent. Ghetto life is insufficient. I want to talk to my people, but they won't listen. Nothing comes out when I write. I try, but my words can't seem to connect. I'm trying to gain y'all respect. As I try to open your eyes and talk about the ghetto cries, I won't hold back. I refuse to show tact when I talk about the have-nots and mothers on crack. I have to talk from a third-person state of mind. I have to make my words rhyme. So let's take a pilgrimage to the hood, the street corners where I once stood. If you haven't paid attention, you should. You should try to understand a poor man's dream. Try to imagine a fish swimming upstream. It's a constant battle. Try riding a horse without a saddle, you'll fall every time. Sometimes I feel like my poetry is a crime because all I have are my words, and my words are worth more than my net worth. And for what it's worth, I was a statistic at birth. Now I'm a spokesman for the hood. Some ask me to change my words. Shit, I wish I would. Who else can explain the pain but a brother from the hood mentally enslaved in boats and chains? But one day you will be marking my words and reciting my poetry, writing my words in calligraphy. But this is not about me, it's about us. And God we trust while our people in the hood are dust to dust. But my words will resurrect crackheads. My words will be working miracles like 2 small fish and 5 loaves of bread. And if my words go over your head, then just go to the hood and you will hear my words echo and ricochet like hot lead. My words will make tsunamis go in the opposite direction. I will wear my words like a bulletproof vest for protection. Take heed to my words, understand my words, feel my words, because all I have are my words. All I have are my words.